Well, now I'm also broadcasting on YouTube. It seems that Rumble's been having a lot of problems today. So I guess I'm going to close my show by finishing up on YouTube until Rumble gets their stuff together. I'm streaming this portion of it. Morality and reality, ethics and not. This is a structure, a social structure that has been created where we are at the point where we are being forced into changing our values and our morals and what is accepted within society. Again, sodomy was a crime in our nation until it became a protected constitutional right. Now, how it's been used and how it's being shaped is one way. But it is important to understand the repercussions from it. And this is what we are dealing with right now today as a society. We have people in elected offices that misuse their positions. They abuse their offices in order to have us succumb to their way of thinking, to their way of how things should be. And while many, many people would decide in their mind how things should move forward and how things should happen, what is right and what is wrong, yes, it's an individual choice as long as it affects only you. But as a society, we are now being forced into some thought process or some fabric that they are weaving to keep us more in check. This is no different than tyrants that have existed in the past throughout history. This is a cycle. If you look at history, this is the same cycle over and over again. Complete oppression, revolution, a time of peace, only to be then oppressed because of too much freedom. Therefore, the kingdom collapses and regains strength again through oppression. And through oppression, again, we go through the cycle of a revolution. It's an endless cycle. It's hell. This is what hell is. And this is what stupidity is, too, according to Einstein. Repeating the same thing over and over again, hoping that you have a different outcome. Now, while many may say our nation is great, well, it's great in a lot of things. It's great in the people. It's great in the way it operates. For now, on paper, I guess. We don't have representation. We are putting people in specific boxes and areas of what they're allowed to say or do. You either are red or blue or black or white or woman, male, cis, this, that. Tell you this. Here's how I see it. Here's where beauty lies. Coexistence. And be like, whoa. Hey, if bacteria can coexist with you, then anything can happen, right? Because you rely on bacteria and bacteria relies on you, I guess, if you want to go into science stuff. But I'll tell you what I did and what I saw. I had the best time ever. And some people will be like, what? Check this. So I'm in Boston and I'm like, let me meet with a few people. I have, free evening. Let's do something. And I go to this place that's named after an Asian airline, right? Because I wanted Chinese food. I was like, listen, after we find Hunter, I want to go eat Chinese food. I want some rice. I want some pork fried rice. I want to just get some dirty Chinese food in. And so D comes up, oh yeah, I've got something and we should invite people because, I finally had finished and I was like, hey, this evening I've got free. Hey, why don't we? And I was like, oh, that's great. It's last minute. So anyway, we go to this place named after an airline, which by the way, I actually happened to fly their first class a couple times in the, years ago when, it was a big thing then, and they were pretty good. So we go to this place called Cathay Pacific, right in Boston. And it's like you walk in and it looks like a Chinese restaurant, but it also has karaoke and it also has a dance floor. and it's also dark. And then in the back where we went, there were tables, and it was like designed like for like wedding receptions. It was the most bizarre mishmash I'd ever seen in my life. Like pink striped stuff and mirrors. It looked like a banquet hall. It was so weird. So right next to the table we were sitting was a big family with kids, adults, everything. They were just like, over 20 people sitting there eating and enjoying themselves. And they looked like they were having a great time. And then when you look at the crowd, there was the bar area, the dark area. So when you enter the place, it's like a dark area. Right in front of you was karaoke, right? Then you had your drag queens too. Like it was the most like there was every socioeconomic stereotype you can envision. It was there, right? From every walk of life. And everyone had fun. And it was down to everyone having fun in their own way, together, and not stepping on others' toes. Except for, me maybe with the weird look to the dude that walked in with the wig and the beard. And I was just like, dude, you're not even trying. Like, this was really bad. If you identify as a woman, at least look like one. Like, don't like make it look like it's Halloween, right? The guy looked it was so weird. Anyway, maybe that I wanted to say something, but I didn't at that point. I mean, anyway, I'll leave that. It was a fun way for me to observe all socioeconomic backgrounds together under one roof in the most, oh my gosh, it was the weirdest, like I said, layout. You walk in, it looks like your typical Chinese food restaurant, and then you make a left and you enter into this dark corner bar, and then across from it, dance floor with some people doing karaoke and people around the bar. It looked like a stripper joint, though, the way they were encircled. And then to the far right, you've got like these banquet tables. I was like, this is like a schizophrenic place. Like, I've never seen so much stuff in one place and so disconnected, but it worked. Like, I would totally go there again just because it worked, right? Because everyone was enjoying themselves. And I guess that's how we should see morality and ethics applied in society. Just because we don't like what someone else says, looks like, dances, dresses, okay. The guy with the wig and the beard really put me off, okay? He wasn't even trying. It was more like he was trolling. But why? Why do we have to have a certain set of way of speaking, voicing our concerns, and operating when we can easily do that with compassion? And that is exactly what I saw within that room. It was compassion. And you're going to be like, but they weren't like pitying. See, this is the thing. Stress and compassion. There's actually research that was done. And I'm going to play this clip from Stanford. I won't play it on YouTube, but I'll have to disconnect. It'll only be on Rumble. But I wanted you guys to get this, at least from my show today on YouTube, since Rumble's been a little bit iffy on the platform today. When it comes down to this war that we're fighting globally, right? And it's the people against whatever establishment is out there. You have to understand that everything they're doing is justified in their eyes. They have a justification because they've rationalized their actions. They believe that whatever they're doing is for the better of whatever they believe, because they're smarter than you, believe it's the way. It is exactly what I was told when I said, wait a minute, are we like rigging elections in other countries? And it was like, silly. We can't have people electing their leaders. That would be chaos. For me, I was kind of like, oh, and it was kind of like, oh, that's your job. And it's like, no, it's not. It's their job, right? It's the people's job to decide who they want and what they want. It's not somebody else who gives them the qualification. What? Because they got a degree? Guarantee you, if I had $1 million, I'd be an honorary whatever, like they do for rich people all the time. Bill Gates didn't get anything. He was a dropout. Give me a break. From what authority are these people telling us what to do and how we should live and what we should put in our bodies and how we should operate. The whole experiment of this nation was to create states, and within those states are people that share common values and operate the way they wish to. And on a more federal shared level, they share resources. It's the EU, just without the communism. It's the EU without communism. There we go. The EU was the step up, making it a little bit more commie-like, right? More socialism, more, what is that key word? Solidarity, right? And then there's other nations that enforce rules and regulations based on ethics that they draw from their religions. In the more, jihad ruling states, we have conflicts in India between the Bengals and the Southern Indians, and, the Hindus and the Muslims and the Sikhs. We have all of these dynamics across the world, when in essence, the real way to do it is exactly what the idea was of our forefathers. We create our communities, and those communities share common values. That's what we do. We share common values, right? And we stick to them. Now, many people will argue, well, less than 0.2%, for example, are, trans people, and nobody likes them. Who said that? The media told you that. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. Well, they alienate gay people. No, they don't. It's 2022. Nobody cares what you do behind closed doors. If you have 2 partners, 3 partners, 100, as long as they're not children, everyone's fine with it. But now we're getting the ones that are attracted to children saying that they're being alienated, and they're now rebranding themselves as, you can't call them pedos, you got to call them maps. It's like, what? That doesn't make sense. We're supposed to be protecting children. We're supposed to be protecting them, not sending them out to predators, because that's how it is. It's predacious behavior on those that can't defend themselves. So I think all of us can agree on basic rules and principles, like don't steal from each other. Fair enough. Don't kill each other. Fair enough. Don't have sex with your neighbor's wife or husband. Well, people, I agree with that. Like, why are you going and stealing people's men or women? Just keep your claws to yourself. But, that's people doing their thing. That's not going to harm you specifically, I guess, society, because it'll be more childless families, fatherless or motherless families, random offspring. But that comes with the territory. Being free isn't supposed to be clean cut, roses, daisies in the field, and skipping around like you're taking part of Little House on the Prairie, running with your dog. It's supposed to be as messy and ugly as free speech is. And that's what makes it beautiful. The imperfectness is what makes it perfect. And it is highly unfortunate that we are in a society that is supposed to be the beacon of freedom for the world. And we're finding ourselves in a position to sequester free speech and to disallow people questioning abuse of power by those that have garnered authority from alleged elections. This is a problem. When I see people calling me an election denier, I'm like, you do know that I used to rig elections in other countries. And when I hear a Karen say she doesn't know how elections work, it's like, actually, I do. I know where the source code goes. I know how it was created, why it was created, what countries were training it, who we paid for it, and who actually concocted it at a house under a contract through the DOD. Like, stop. You don't know. In today's society, in the United States of America, we are not allowed to even protest our grievances, which is allowed to us by the First Amendment. We have media that is receiving personal identifying information from enraged election officials across the nation that are trying to bully, abuse, or mock people for demanding transparency. Your elections should be free and transparent. They should not be classified. They should not be under the guise of, we need all this power. Look, if you need so many federal agents and so much money and so many computational systems and so many barriers from not letting us see, then we don't need these machines. We can definitely count. And if I live in a state with 5 million votes cast, well, that means I have at least 20 million people that can count statistically. And by the way, the machines couldn't even count one county in Arizona. Stayed like that for 5 days. You're going to tell me people couldn't have done it faster? See, it all comes down to the foundations of what we allow them to do. I don't care if you're left, right, middle, upside down, curvy, whatever you want to identify as. One thing that we can all identify as Americans is that we have to have solid foundations. We cannot allow these people to trample upon our rights with unfettered access to everything about us. And we aren't allowed to question them when we pay their salaries, right? They don't even ask us. They just take it, right? And they'll jail you if you don't pay them too. I mean, could you imagine being able to jail your boss for not, they could jail you if you don't pay them, right? This is the bottom line. Our morals and ethics, I guess, intertwined together, have been deprived of our attention because of stress. And stress, again, does not allow us to feel compassion. Therefore, we can dehumanize others. I mean, we see it all the time with these Karens. Remember, during 2020, they were wearing masks like their lives depended on it. I would stand next to people on the sidewalk having a cigarette, and they'd be masked up. And they'd say, I can smell your cigarette. Can you move over? And I'd say, well, if you can smell my cigarette, a ton of viruses are going through too. So that mask isn't working, because scientifically, the molecule of smoke is way, way bigger than that of a virus. So it was all about perception in 2020. In 2021, people completely lost their mind because they got this false sense of assurance, because apparently the pharmaceutical companies had come up with some genius idea to help them, when in fact it's causing a hindrance to their actual innate immunity, taking away from their natural foundations, their themselves. And people were at a point where they would actually kill you and attack you. You saw people being attacked at Bath and Body Works for not wearing a mask, but they're all still alive, right? They're all alive right now. And those that didn't wear masks are more alive than those that did. And sans the acne on their face and, whatever. So it's really important for us to see just how they're dehumanizing people and training people into new morals and ethics. Remember, sodomy was a crime until it became a protected constitutional right. That's key. This is how quick one generation can destroy hundreds of years worth of prosperity and advancements. But that was only one nail. It wasn't the final nail. This is where the final nail is coming. We see people complaining about Podesta coming into this administration now. How did you not see that coming? What are you talking about? He's a pedo. No. Wait. How did you not see that coming? He was the guy that was executing the UN agenda. And right now, because every single one of you, both left and right, especially the right, have bent the knee, waiting for someone to ride in on a white horse. They're taking full advantage of that. He was the executor of that whole plan. Of course, he's coming in. It was inevitable that he was going to come back in. They've dehumanized a whole generation of people. What is that? Okay, boomer. When the boomers are the ones that bent the knee, it's the Gen Xers that are confusing everyone, right? We've got Generation A that's fighting like the Gen Xers that are awake, And some of the boomers that are like, hey, I'm on my deathbed, I give 0. I think everyone should give 0. You shouldn't care. You shouldn't care what other people say about you. And I say this and I don't practice it all the time, but sometimes when I listen, I'm like, what else did I do? Tell me more. People talk about you like they know you. Don't worry about it. It's been happening since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of time. So seeing this wave of media obtaining personal identifying information from election officials that are complaining to them, oh my God, they're sending us all these requests. How dare they? How dare they question us and tell us to hold on to evidence? Ask them why. Oh, and in Kentucky, Ben Chandler was like, oh, definitely that Pilla fella, right? Not only that, this lawyer representing someone, and I'm going to find out who it is, and I will make sure to publicize that. This lawyer threatened a citizen with a Class A misdemeanor for sending a retain the data letter because they're thinking about filing a lawsuit. I want you to remember that. This is where they're going to. They want to criminalize people demanding transparency. You're harassing a citizen for demanding transparency. I dare you to take that to court. Because you know what? Actually charge someone with it. I dare you. There's no way in any universe whatsoever that would pass. You would be hung by your toes. This guy needs to get disbarred. This attorney with just this letter should be completely disbarred. It's malicious. It's disgusting. And, if you don't have a license to practice law or have filed pro se lawsuit, who is this person trying to intimidate any citizen from using the people's court? Who are these people that think that you are peasants and you are not allowed to speak? Who are these people that are writing stories about this concerted effort because they're election deniers? No, you are a truth denier. That's what you are. Because if you believe in your mind that in any shape or form that these elections were free, fair, and transparent, then you need some help. What's that? Where is that GIF? See, I don't even have it. That GIF where it says, stop, get some help. That's how you should respond to any email any media person sends any of you. Stop, get some help. It's not free. Definitely not, because we're paying billions of dollars for these elections. It's not fair because there's pre-programmed decryption algorithms in the trap door, and it's not transparent. There's classified portions, and we got DHS all over it. They have federalized our elections under our noses, and no one is saying a word. At the end of the day, my affidavit in the Sidney Powell lawsuit is the only one that has stood the test of time. Every single audit, every single investigation that has been done has just proven things that I put in there in November of 2020. Why? Because like I said, I used to fix elections in other countries. I mean, you should ask John Bolton. That's the preferred method, that instead of throwing out Arab Springs and killing people and assassinating leaders, the easiest way was to just conduct elections and help them. That's the way it is. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting how those that call you election deniers are actually just truth deniers. They're your thought police. They're not journalists. They're not your friends. They're just thought police. Now I'll just move to Rumble. God bless.